Hello again everybody, this is Amorgin and you're very welcome back to another episode of Star Trek Fleet Command. And a sneaky look there guys at what was plans at one time for a variety of different factions in the game. And we'll come back to that in a little moment. We're looking here at the first and only expansion of a new faction into the game, which was the Augment faction, of course guys, with Khan and his crew. And a departure in how this was done guys from the Federation, Klingon and Romulans. Different items available in the store, mined materials being used as the currency, and yeah, a slightly different and I would say a more welcome way of being able to obtain faction related items. However, very disappointing that the hijacked ships, the Augment ships, were not made available in this faction store during the recent event. But word is guys on the grapevine that there's an Augment faction event coming soon, so we'll have to keep our eyes open for that. And I'm beavering away here guys on my Augment decoded data and corrupted data for that purpose. But we can see very clearly here guys that ships available in the Romulan, Klingon and Federation faction store, spending your faction credits on those blueprints, and it would only be fair, it would only be proper that at some point, and hopefully this will happen during the event, but it would only be fair that the Augments would have the hijacked ships available for spending their credits as well. Leave your comments below guys if you agree with that or don't agree with that, but I certainly think that would be the most straightforward way of satisfying the community and letting them have a reasonable attempt at getting those hijacked ships. So we're zooming out here guys on the universe, on the galaxy, sorry, and we're going to take a quick nosy around here at these pictures in a little bit more detail. So you can see it was Gorn space there guys, clearly in the same spot where the Augments are. We'll take a quick look around and we can see Klingon space going right down to the bottom there and then creeping up around at the back of the Romulans. The Romulans then sandwiched in between Klingons and Federation, and the Federation creeping up over the top end of the Romulans too and stretching right down until we reach neutral space again, and lots of room here guys for any amount of new faction inclusion. So there's Telon guys, we can see it, Telon 7 down toward the bottom left, and Augments faction space right there tucked in beside the Klingons, and not a very big section of faction space, but certainly, I don't know about you, that looks like it's similar enough to me that they've basically cut the Gorn space in half and put it very close to Klingon space. We can see the Klingon border there down the bottom. We'll take a look at that again in a minute. So you can see there Telon is below Klingon space in this image guys. Telon is there, but what seems to have happened is they've kept the Klingons in the same general region, but Telon has been absorbed by the Klingons there and moved over. And so here we're looking at the Federation space. One big block guys, it's not creeping up around the Romulans so much and not stretching down, but again minor changes to the borders, but in the same general area of the map. So there seems to be a wee pattern here. If we go down to the neutral space, we can see the Briar Patch and the Matara Nebula clearly marked out and identified in the middle of neutral space there guys, and clearly plans somewhere along the line. Is this still in the framework? Is this still part of the roadmap? We'll have to keep an eye on that. It remains to be seen. Romulans not quite sandwiched between the Klingons and the Federation there, not as much as in the current galaxy map, but still in that region, that same region, and again with changes to the border area. So there's a closer look at Telon guys. Our map now currently in the game after global launch there, Klingons have absorbed that area of space. And if you imagine that all to be Klingon, you can clearly see that that section of Gornar space, that if you'd split that in half, that would generally reflect this new Augment faction. So it shows that they're not against changing what were in the plans at one time, but it seems to be the pattern that they're maintaining these this framework where these locations were originally planned. And it'll be an interesting one, guys, just to reflect back on this if a new faction ever does come into it, and see does it tally with the other factions that we can see in these images. Even in a vague kind of way, does it tally the way Augment tallies roughly with Gorn space there? What's going to go down here, for example? What's going to be in this neutral part of space? Is there something there we can expect at some point in the future? And you can see Talon's moved over there, guys. But yeah, plenty of space there that can be used. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your comments on this, guys. That certainly looks like that's just been modified there. Have Scopely scrapped any of these plans? What sort of changes and work has been done to this? I'd certainly like to know. It's an interesting one, guys, rummaging around sometimes in the archives and digging out these old images of where the game originally was back with the beta players and back on the founder server, and even before that when we played beta and all of that. There was a lot of changes to the game in the last 2 years or so, guys, but there seems to be some sort of constancy there with the general area that we're looking at. So there's word that there were other maps. My memory's hazy enough at times on this, but there were other images knocking about back in the day, and Econ, my friend, he'll testify to the fact that he seems to remember that there were more factions at one time. So that's something maybe if he can find that image, he can do a wee video on that himself and bring that to you guys. But yeah, Gorn was certainly planned. It used to be in the faction list as an undiscovered faction along with the Suliban and that. They took it away, and we have now this version of the game that we all currently play. But it's nice to look at these plans the way they were. Not a lot of people maybe have seen these. And the first advent of a new faction, new expansion into the game was, of course, these augments. But quite disappointing that there are no hijack chips yet made available in it. But definitely a different way of doing it, and I enjoy it. I'm beavering away, like I say, gathering up my decoded data and my corrupted data in anticipation of an augment event coming soon. The intention will be to get Can, if I can, and remember again, guys, that the faction rep, the augment faction rep, as you build it, the last time in the event, you were awarded points for gaining more augment faction reputation. So I'd be suggesting save your decoded and corrupted data and buy all of that. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to buy all of that augment reputation with my decoded and corrupted whenever that event comes along. So I'm nearly done, guys. I'd love to hear your comments. Like I say, come into Discord and chat to us about it. Leave your comments below. Like and subscribe and all of that kind of stuff, guys, and hit the bell for notifications and whatever. We might get more of this stuff if we manage to dig some of it out of the archives if you're interested in it. Certainly my focus here now for this new faction, the augment faction, is to try and get Can. He looks like he's going to be great for attacking bases, raiding bases. So we look forward with great anticipation to that. I'm about halfway to ally, so we'll see how we do. But yeah, guys, different to the Romulans and Klingons and Federation the way we do it here. The icing on the cake for this faction, I think, would be the addition of hijack chips. Leave your comments on that very matter below as well, and we'll try and reflect them onto Panic and Scopely and the guys there. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. Could be exciting times ahead, folks. We'll have to wait and see what way that turns out, I guess. But it's been my pleasure to bring you some of these little hidden gems and bits and pieces of information that some of you guys may not have been aware is floating out about there in the community. And things like these old lost images of factions that were planned and they're gathering dust somewhere now. So there you have it, guys. Until the next time, look after yourselves and look after each other, and I'll catch all of you guys again soon. Cheers.